That's a good sign. There we go. And we're here. Hey, we made it. All right, everyone. Today's topic, like I mentioned, is all about Facebook analytics. For those of you who are just hopping on or just now seeing this on our YouTube channel, my name is Carmen Rojas. I like to think of myself as the digital marketing whisperer. My job is to use analytics and data to tell companies more about why their customers click, and conversely, why they don't click. So I get to spend my days in the depths of numbers and reading the matrix of website analytics to help companies understand where they should place more resources in terms of money and time, what messages are resonating with their audience as well. Are they marketing to the right audience? So if those are the kinds of questions that you would like to have answered, make sure you give me a call or shoot me a message. I'd be more than happy to spend some time answering some of your questions. But today we're going to talk about what I think is one of the biggest questions. And this whole week we're going to be talking about social media analytics. So today we're going to talk about Facebook analytics. And there's a couple of things that I need to just kind of dispel off the bat. The number one thing that I see happening on Facebook that tends, there's a couple of things, but the number one thing that I see people doing on Facebook, particularly businesses, that is messing up their analytics and making it hard for them to really get some value and some validated learning. When you first start your Facebook business page, one of the options that you will have is to invite your friends and family. But here's the problem. Most of your friends and family probably aren't your customers. They're not going to buy from you. So if you build your Facebook page or any social media following based on people who are not following you or who are not buying from you, then trying to get analytics and metrics out of that information is an exercise in futility. You will not get valuable information about who buys from you if your social media following is, the majority of people don't buy from you. So in terms of making your ad spend go down and being able to more effectively use boost posts, which are generally a little bit cheaper. Again, if your audience is made up of family and friends who are not necessarily your customers, but who support you, that's not the most effective way to do it. And I understand the general theory is, well, if I share with my friends and family, then they'll share and then it'll spread. Well, the only problem with that is that it just doesn't usually happen that way. If you're friends and family, then they tend to see what you're posting about and, oh, that's what my cousin's doing, or, something like that. And so they just don't share it very often. So first thing that you need to make sure that you're doing to get good analytics out of your Facebook is make sure that your page, I would say you want 10 to maybe 20% of your audience to be people, and that would be tops. That would be people that friends and family. You just need to make sure of that. And that way, the majority of your data is actually people who are buying from you and your customers. Okay. So first rule, don't invite a ton of family and friends. Okay. And don't get mad if they're not following your page. I see a lot in a lot of the entrepreneurial startup groups where people are ticked off because their families are not liking their business page. Don't worry about it. If they're not buying from you, you don't want them to. So you're okay. All right. Now, the second thing that I want to just explain real quick before we dive into the details is the only people that make money on Facebook is Facebook, okay? Mark Zuckerberg makes money on Facebook. You, the business owner, do not. Here's the thing. In order for you to make money, you have to get your customers or your audience off of Facebook to some other site where there's an actual financial transaction that takes place. Okay, so the idea that we're going to, be making money on Facebook is not the biggest thing. So what you need is conversion from Facebook to that other site, whether it be, an Eventbrite page or your own personal page or an Etsy page, something like that, whatever it is, you have to figure out how to get your social media following from the site where they are to the site where you make money. This in between is conversion, and analytics can help you do that. One last myth I want to dispel real briefly is there is no evidence to support that the size of your following has anything to do with your rank in SEO. You could have 1 billion followers on Facebook. If they are not converting, if they never leave Facebook, all that does is help Facebook out. It does absolutely nothing for your business if they do not do anything in terms of clicking links that go to blogs, in terms of going to your sales page, in terms of sharing links. That just doesn't happen. So the number of followers as a metric that you are tracking, you just need to keep a good eye on, why am I tracking this? There's no correlation between business success and the number of followers you have in any social media following. I've seen businesses with thousands, hundreds of thousands of followers between all their social media channels go out of business. But I've never seen a business that has thousands of customers go out of business. So what you want are customers, not followers. So that's the first thing that we're going to dispel real quick about your Facebook analytics. Yes, keep an eye on how many followers you have. If that makes you feel good, then great. But it's not a measure of success. It's not a measure of your sales. It's not don't get confused and start thinking, oh, well, people are following me on Facebook, so I should start spending, or I should start going out and getting investors, or I should start risking more money just because I have a high number of social media followers. That is not the way to think about it. Okay. What you want are social media conversions. Okay. So that's kind of the first myth that I need to explain, is that the number of followers on your Facebook page is a rather misleading, we call it a vanity metric. It's a bit misleading. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing well. But there are some actionable metrics that you can have. You do want to keep an eye on things like link clicks. They will tell you in your insights how many times people have clicked links that show up in your Facebook page. And on the website, on the Real House Consulting website, we will be posting a bit of an infographic that'll explain exactly where you can go to look at this. But what you want to be looking at is the insights on your business page, and you have to have, I believe it's 20 followers in order to have insights. So again, we talked about how many of those followers should be friends and family and people that don't buy from you. If you want good analytics, then you should only have two of them. So 2 people, friends and family, 18 of them should not be. They should be customers or potential customers. Okay. So when you go over to your business page, you want to be looking at your insights. And we talked about link clicks. That's an important metric to watch. You also want to be looking at, there are different ways that they can measure engagement on there, in your analytics. One common way to be looking at it is things like how many shares and likes did something get. Again, likes and shares don't really mean a whole heck of a lot in terms of how well is your business doing. They will tell you things, how is it being shared around Facebook? Well, yeah, I posted a picture of my daughter the other day and I got lots of shares and likes and things. It didn't sell a thing. So you just have to be careful and think about what it is that you're actually trying to measure and what is the result that you're trying to get out of it. So again, there's a lot of interesting metrics, and I don't think there's kind of a general thought, and it's not a conspiracy theory or anything like that, but there's kind of a general thought that it helps Facebook to show you some of these more vanity metrics and kind of play them up a little bit because it keeps you on Facebook. I don't have any evidence to prove that that's happening, and I'm not saying that they're misleading people, but just like when you go into a restaurant, there's a reason why the most expensive dish is placed where it is in the menu. There's a reason why Facebook shows us analytics in the way that it does. So just keep that in mind. But yes, so in your insights page, there's all kinds of information that you'll see there. You can take a look at likes, reach, page views, actions on page, all of that good stuff. But what you want to watch, what I actually like to look at is if you scroll down below, there's some little line charts usually it's a page summary for 7 days, but you can actually open up that window and make it go for 30 days. 7 days is a pretty narrow window to look at unless you've had a fair amount of activity in that week. So it just depends on what question it is that you're trying to answer, and if you've made an effort to really do some testing and some validating. But the metrics that show up in your Facebook insights can be a little bit odd. If you take a look at, you've got different reach, engagement, and then there's a nice little button there to promote things. Make a note of that, because when you see the way Facebook has put this together, you see an interesting thing where you've got, what we posted, the information, and right away there's a solution. That's a good way to set up landing pages, for example. You bring people to your site to solve the problem that you're trying to solve, and boom, right as you see the answer, there's a way that you can buy and engage in a profitable way. But you'll see things like reach. What is reach? Reach is how many people did it show up in their feed. Okay. Engagement is things like did they like it? Did they share it? Did they react? Did they comment? All of that fun stuff. But that little blue tab in the top of that engagement is a little bar, and it shows up as post clicks. And that's the thing that we want to be looking at the most. Those are the more important things. Shares are great. Shares would probably be running a close second, but you definitely want to be looking at post clicks. And that's something that's very important. So the other thing, if you scroll on the left-hand side in your insights, if you're looking at things like actions on page, that's interesting information that will tell you things by the date, and you can separate it out in a lot of different ways and find out things like who clicked on a button. So, for example, if you decide that you're selling widgets and you want to do, test the price point, for example. So you test buy now for only $9.99 versus another day you test buy now for $10. And then you can go over here and look who clicked more when it was $9.99 versus $10. And you can see that by gender, by country, by city, by device, all of that. And that may have an impact in your business. So you need to get familiar with those types of things. The other thing that I find to be interesting when I look at this, and there's a lot of very interesting points, but when you click on the People tab, that's when you get to see a lot of this breakdown of your fans. And again, this is why it's not very helpful to have a bunch of fans or followers who are just your friends and family who do not buy from you. Because what will happen is when you get over here to the Your Fans page or in your insights, it will only reflect all these people who don't buy from you. So what good is that? You want insights about people who are actually in your target audience. So when you look at your insights, you can see all kinds of great stuff. Where are your people from? So what country are they from? What city are they from? What language are they speaking? All of that kind of stuff is very interesting. And even mine, I've got mine open and I'm looking at it. And there's some reasons why I could see some correlation with some of these locales on here. But one thing that's interesting is I have followers from Phoenix, Arizona. That's cool. I've never been to Phoenix. I didn't know that they were interested, but they actually outrank another Florida city. And I live here in Florida. So that's an interesting thing to take maybe a second look at and try to figure out what's going on there and how am I reaching that audience. Another thing that's interesting to me, I have quite a few women. And this is an interesting thing that is helpful when you're taking a look at your buyer persona and creating that ideal customer persona. If you, again, have your Facebook page that is chock full of people who do not buy from you, then your buyer persona gets skewed and you don't know who it is that you're actually trying to target. But if you have your Facebook page and your following set up so that you actually have real customers on here, then when you look, you can kind of adjust your buyer persona. And we've got some interesting tools coming out in the next year that will talk more about this. But how do you can use this to then say, okay, originally I thought my product was going to be more interesting for men because they're in corporate America. It's not exactly true, but I've noticed here that 65% of my fans are women. So that might change things a little bit. And the majority of them are between 35 and 44. That's a little younger, but what's interesting is the next highest demographic for me is that they're 45 to 54, not 25 to 34. And we often think of entrepreneurs being in that 25 to 34 range, but that's interesting. And that's among women. But among men, I have 11% of them that are in that 25 to 34 range. So it's very interesting information that helps me to craft a better buyer persona. So that's been some insights and some tips about Facebook analytics. Again, those original things that we talked about and I've stressed over and over and over, make sure that in your business page, you actually have real customers and real fans following you and not just your family and friends. So if you start there, that's fine. But as you get, as you start to get more traction, and you might want to kind of go ahead and delete off a few family and friends, particularly if they're not buying from you. They can support you on your personal page. Your business page should be about the business. So make sure that you have a good business following there. The other tip we gave you to remind you is that the only people that make money on Facebook is Facebook. You do not. You have the conversion between Facebook and the place where the transaction actually happens is the most important part. So monitoring metrics like page, how many followers do you have and all of that kind of stuff isn't as valuable as knowing how many of those followers actually convert and how many of them leave your Facebook page and actually make it over to a place where they can support your business in a profitable way. That's the important thing. And the last thing we were also sharing is also that there is no evidence to support that what happens on Facebook has anything to do with your page rank unless people click off of Facebook and go over to your website. Then that's traffic coming into your website, which does, it is shown to have somewhat of an effect. It's not the biggest thing to happen, but it does help. So ideally, you want to get traffic off of Facebook onto your page. So you just need to keep that in mind as you're putting together your Facebook page campaigns and your marketing campaigns, particularly coming out in 2017. My last thing, Facebook is always coming out with new ideas. I definitely recommend to any business owner and any entrepreneur that's on Facebook, make sure that you own your list. Do not leave it so that all of your followers and all of your Facebook contacts are only available to you on Facebook. You never know when Facebook might decide to start charging for business pages. I've also heard of people who break a rule in Facebook and all of a sudden their business page is gone. If the only way you reach your customers is through Facebook and that's it, that's the only contact information you have is their Facebook page, then you're going to be in big trouble if something should happen to that. So make sure that you're owning your own list, you're getting them off of Facebook into a lead capture where you can actually record that information, because you will be royally screwed if you lose your business page and all your business was on Facebook, okay? So we will be coming out soon with new products and services. We do still have a few places left available in our Analytics Made Easy program. So if you want to take part in that, that's the simple, easy way that we are helping businesses get more actionable insights into why their customers click. For only $19.99 a month, you'll get a quick email that comes in the morning and lets you know what's going on. If there's anything to be worried about, you'll get a weekly update that tells you kind of the trend lines and what's happened. And then we have a monthly meeting with you that tells you from a more philosophical standpoint, how do we move the needle and what things do we need to work on and how do we change things for the better with your website. If that sounds like something that's interesting to you, if you want to move forward in your business and have been waiting for somebody to come and help you make data-driven decisions about your social media marketing or your digital marketing in general, this is the program for you, and I would encourage you to visit the website. I'm going to post the link here in the comments as soon as we're off, and that's the place to go. I hope that this has been an interesting show to you. If it was, make sure you give us a thumbs up, share it with your following, share it with your friends, so that we can get more people involved and more people learning how marketing analytics works. I hope you will join me on Wednesday, because we'll be talking about Twitter analytics, which will be very interesting to see a comparison between Twitter analytics and Facebook. And then, of course, on Friday, we're going to be talking about YouTube. Hope to see you guys then. I will be posting the invitation. Share that too. We'll look forward to seeing you on Friday. Have an awesome day.